today to have the opportunity to share with the House and all those who follow our proceedings a little of the unique and extraordinary commitment and sacrifice of those who serve in our Royal Navy submarine service, delivering our continuous at-sea deterrent, our silent service. Now, in the late 1950s, it became clear to the US and the UK governments that in order to ensure that those infamous words of Sir Winston Churchill's "indestructible retaliation is the secret" could be credible, nuclear deterrence needed to go out to sea, where, as Admiral Arleigh Burke, the Chief of Naval Operations in the US Navy at the time, said, "The real estate is free, and where they're very far away from me." The creation of Polaris meant a deterrent system which could be effective because it was capable, reliable, available and invulnerable. And most importantly, because there was the political will to use it in extremis. I always describe our nuclear deterrent as the most effective weapon of peace ever created, Mr Deputy Speaker, because by its existence and invulnerability it fulfils the modern function of military force to prevent war. Once the power and destructive force of nuclear weapons had been created and demonstrated, those charged with trying to maintain global order and peace after 2 world wars had to find a way to harness the awesome and terrifying power of these weapons to reduce future risks to populations around the world. Mr Deputy Speaker, we've been running CASD for 50 years, and it happens at the sharp end because the submariners who man our strategic deterrent agree to go to sea below the waves for 100 days or more at a time, in the harshest of watery environments, in the depths of our seas and oceans, in a long metal tube reminiscent of a caravan with no windows. It's cold, it's pitch black, the sea is unforgiving and corrosive, and there are inordinate pressures on the submarine hull. Just consider for a moment that when the sailor closes the hatches as he enters his vessel, he will not be physically able to open them again until they resurface. The pressure of the water at depth means that once you're in, there is no getting out again until you resurface, for months at a time. Madam Deputy Speaker, the thing most feared by submariners at sea is not the external pressure on their metal tube, or the lack of fresh food or milk, or the lack of internet, or the inability to get Amazon to deliver. No, what any submariner fears most is fire. The whole submarine will fill instantly with smoke. Noxious smoke, creating zero visibility, where you can't see your hand in front of your face. Choking, acrid smoke from burning oil or plastics. So the relationship and interdependency between every member of the crew in a submarine is like no other team on Earth, or indeed even on the sea. They have only themselves to rely upon. They eat 4 meals a day together, frozen, dried, tinned food after the first few days uses up all the fresh milk, fruit and vegetables. They work 6 hours on, 6 hours off, every day, and get into a warm bed for 4 hours sleep, which is normal, since the previous occupant will have just got out to go back on duty. It's not your average work routine. Madam Deputy Speaker, we take completely for granted our ability to keep in touch with family and friends, more so than ever nowadays. Text, WhatsApp, email, quick phone call, popping next door for a coffee with neighbours, nipping to the shops for that thing you ran out of. None of that is possible when you're serving in our Royal Navy submarine service. You and your family can send and receive 1 message a week, short, read by the commanding officer, potentially censored. You won't be given the message if someone is ill or has died until you get back from your 3-month patrol. Lovers develop codes to share their affection away from prying eyes, with ploys that Alan Turing might be proud of. But fundamentally, submariners on duty in HMS Vengeance, HMS Vanguard, Vigilant or Victorious are out of contact with the rest of the world they are protecting. For the last 50 years, in my humble opinion, the greatest unsung heroes of CASD have been and remain the families of those who serve. Being the wife or child of a submariner is a job which most of us can never fully understand or appreciate. These sons and daughters, wives and lovers, parents and grandparents have to be stoic and as committed to their submariner's service as the sailor himself, or indeed since 2011, herself. Just imagine, Madam Deputy Speaker, celebrating children's birthdays or Christmas without Dad and having to remember to plan to celebrate them at another time. For children, a displacement of normal routines which makes no sense to their friends at school. For partners, the logistics of thinking about how to include their sailor in the special events of life which happen without them when they are deployed. The first day at school, the first tooth, birth of a baby, parents' evenings, broken bones from sports matches not cheered on, school plays missed, family events, weddings, funerals, your child's first steps, first words. The sailor misses them, but the partner has to not only experience them without being able to share the joy, the anxiety, the sadness, the grief, but also to remember that when their husband or wife, son or daughter returns from their tour, that these events have happened and need to be shared and re-experienced. The spouse also has to deal with life's challenges which cannot be shared because of the comms silence. Things like broken washing machines, insurance problems, money worries and decisions, problems with the in-laws, family discipline decisions. It is a strange and unique continuous stress because it's single parenthood some of the time, then not. Keeping their children's world stable in a profoundly unstable environment. Being able to remain strong alone, going to sleep every night, not knowing where your sailor is, or being able to tell them that you love them. For the sailor who has been isolated from all these ordinary, normal, day-to-day activities, a return to normal life after 100 days underwater in a pressured tube, living with a nuclear reactor and fellow sailors in very close proximity, can be really challenging. Normal life is noisy, full of confusion and complexity, and full of events and news and gossip and change of which they have no knowledge. And so it falls to their spouse or parent to try to help them to adjust back to shore life just for a while before they deploy again. Madam Deputy Speaker, we have submariners who man our bombers. The SSBN, a subsurface ballistic nuclear vessel, as NATO describes them, tour after tour, some serving below the waves for 20 years. Extraordinary commitment by those who serve, but also by their families, who silently wait for their return and keep their world going while they are away. Madam Deputy Speaker, the continuity of delivering our strategic deterrent is critical to doing all we can as key NATO allies to maintain global peace. In the last 50 years, whether the world has been more or less stable, the White Ensign has commanded respect and admiration around the globe. The challenge of actually delivering the continuous strategic deterrent, one achieved by the Royal Navy since HMS Resolution began this continuous deployment rotation, continues to elude many nations' navies. It requires a commitment from our manpower, from industry's ability to provide engineering resilience, a political strength in the national psyche, and the sheer will to meet all those challenges. Every second of every minute, of every hour, of every day, of every week, of every month, of every year since April 1969, which is when I was born. So for the whole of my life, there have been submariners willing to serve under the sea and families willing to patiently wait for their return in order to deliver the continuous at-sea deterrent on our behalf. I pay tribute to every single one of them, and I thank them for their service to our nation's security over the last 50 years, as well as for all those yet to join this extraordinary set of ranks of exceptional, world-class silent service.
Here. John Woodcock.